diolch yn fawr, Sara. Bore da, diolch yn fawr iawn i chi gyd am ddod yma heddiw ar gyfer partneriaeth newydd, dwi'n gobeithio, rhwng cartrefi cymunedol a'r ymddidolaeth arbed ynni. Da ni falch iawn i cael chi i gyd yma heddiw. A warm welcome to you all. We're very, very glad to be able to launch with the Minister and with the Lynette Morgan as well today, a new partnership, a practical partnership for action when it comes to tackling climate change in Wales. I'm very, very glad to see you all here today. 27% of carbon emissions in the United Kingdom come from the domestic sector, and Community Housing Cymru represents 9% of homes in Wales. And we do acknowledge that there is a challenge here for us representing registered social landlords to make sure that we do have a more effective response to the challenges of climate change for the future. And I think if we're going to meet that challenge, there has to be much more partnership working, not just between ourselves, but also with the Energy Saving Trust, given all the huge amount of expertise that they have in this sector, and also with the Welsh Assembly Government. I think now more than ever before there is a broad mainstream understanding across the political landscape that we have to have effective intervention in this field. I think, to quote Ronald Reagan, a man who feared effective governmental intervention, I think he famously once told his officials, don't just do something, stand there. Well, I think the days of just standing there have gone. We really do have to start taking effective action, and I hope today is going to be a practical day that helps empower you to do that for the future. Last week we saw the publication of Sue Essex's review on the future of affordable housing in Wales. We were absolutely delighted to see that report commissioned by the Assembly Government and to see Sue complete that work. I'm not going to go into detail about the recommendations because I think that's something that Jane wishes to touch on. But funnily enough, I had to go into the BBC studios last week at 6:30 in the morning to respond to the report, which was a bit challenging because it wasn't actually released till 11 o'clock. But I got to the studios and Jane Davidson was there. I have to say, fair play, she'd come in on a bike. And she was speaking about Zimbabwe, not about social housing, but given that the Minister was there, I thought it was important to be positive and to respond positively to the review. So even if you hadn't have been there, Jane, I've got to tell you, we would still have responded positively. Wales, for too long, particularly in the area of social housing, has been a new thinking free zone. Look at what's been going on in England. The Cave Review, the Hills Review, the Elton Review, the Parker Review, the Calcutta Review. None of this applied to Wales. It was a critical time, we felt, last year for us to take a real fresh look at what we can do to engage intelligently with government so that we can do more to really provide better services for communities across Wales for the future. So we're delighted with Sue's work, and we're looking forward to the government's response in due course. I think this collaboration with the Energy Saving Trust is timely as well, given the credit crunch. I think for once, too often in the past, the debate has been really about environmental considerations versus the economy. Now, mainly because of, I think, arguments around social justice, we are seeing the economic drivers and the environmental drivers for more effective action against fuel poverty really coming together. And for that reason, we're also very grateful to the Assembly Government for providing us with some additional support over the next 3 years so that we can do more working with our members on fuel poverty and financial inclusion. We have Claire Williams at the back there, who I'm very pleased has just joined Community Housing Cymru as our Financial Inclusion Officer. Her role, she will be a champion working with associations to fight against fuel poverty and some of the more upsetting practices that we're seeing currently with the credit crunch when it comes to doorstep lending. I said earlier I wouldn't go into detail when it comes to the Essex Review, but there is one interesting recommendation there where it talks about not just using social housing grants, but also the economic development area to try and progress action when it comes to reducing our carbon footprint. One area that we think we can do more there is on the EU Convergence Programme. Wales does have the biggest EU Convergence Programme in the whole of the UK, which I'm sure Linda will touch on later. There are a number of people in this room, Sinead Hughes, Dewi Llwyd Evans, Anne Lottie Miller and others have done an awful lot of work this year, so that perhaps for the first time we can also have an effective partnership between social housing providers and WEFO, and can actually provide more action there. 90 million a year is the sum that we estimate housing associations currently invest in community regeneration, as well as the broader action that we take on housing development and maintenance. So I think I'm going to park things there, hand over to Jane. Thank you all very much for coming, and I hope you get as much out of today as possible. Diolch yn fawr.